I've been so excited about getting started with the Stampendous Watercolor series that I had to try a little bit of what I've been watching already. Here's the stamp, and I've already laid down some color for the sky and the ocean, but the ocean seems to be a little rich and too flat, so I'm removing some of the color, and then I'm going to go back in with the same color and deepen it around the edges. And to me, that's going to give it a little bit more depth, or at least from my beginner's perspective. As I thought about it, a darker middle may actually have been more accurate, but I can't really tell you. I don't know. I don't know enough about all this stuff to even give it to you properly. Here are the clouds. Now, I'm having a hard time with clouds, but I'm really looking forward to the Stampendous series and learning more about ways to do clouds. And speaking of that, in the comments, in the commentary below, I'm going to give you a list of supplies. Now I'm mixing a little bit of brown here. I used red, yellow, and gray to make up the brown color. And I'm fixing to move the tray a little bit to the left so you can see me mixing. But please remember, I am a beginner, and all that I do, it may or may not be the best way of doing stuff. But what I'm trying here is to put a shadow on the lighthouse, but I accidentally wicked it into the cloud. No problem. Clean it up with a paper towel. Get out your heat gun. Mop it up with a little bit of a dry brush and a Q-tip. Okay, back to the shadow. I think I'm a bit heavy-handed when it comes to the use of water. You got to have water to make it lighter, but I think I'm just putting more water in my brush than what I should. See, because here I am, I'm putting a light color down, but it's too much water. So I have to go in, dab it off, and try it again. As you can see, a little bit of color, very little color, a lot of water. Okay. As you see, I already had started on the rocks, but I'm trying again. Creating depth is difficult for me. I feel like I'm just putting colors down willy-nilly. The path there, that's all white, needs to be colored too. I keep trying, but it's just hit and miss. Keep trying. Try it again. Too much water. Arg. It's frustrating. I'm like, one more time? Really? This is so frustrating. But I'm going to keep trying. Now we're going to get back to the shadow again on the lighthouse. There we go. And I'm going to try to make a little bit of a brighter green to fill in the blank spots on the trees, bushes, and the grass. I had previously, before the video, put the darkest greens in the middle, outside of those, the medium greens. And now I'm trying to make up a brighter green to go along the edges. I'm using the very tiny tip of my brush to dot it. This is in an up and down perpendicular motion. And then I'm using the very little tiny tip again with some upward strokes for the grass. And I'm trying to do some brown shadow for the house. Gonna clean that off and get some of the same color of blue for the sky, and I'm going to put just a little sliver of that color into the windows. Now I'm going to go back to the clouds to try and soften those edges by applying clear water, and I'm going to try to open up the sky, make a little bit more white there. I wet my brush, or I wet the expanse, I dry my brush, and then I mop and push the water and color up out of the way. My ocean began to wick up upward, so I fixed that with a paper towel. And then I go in with some clean water again, and I'm trying to pull down the color out of the hard edges and color out of those clouds. But I think eventually it only helped a little. I'm still dissatisfied with the rocks, so I'm coming in again, and I'm just more or less like thinking, make it all dark brown. Now I'm drawing the whole project, and as an afterthought I said, well, maybe a few flowers would brighten it up, so I mixed up some purple. I took blue and one color of red there, and it was all pretty dry, so I had to mix it and add water, dab, dab, dab. I'm getting a little bit of the water out of my brush there, mixing it with my skewer. And I'm like, let me try a little bit of this red up here. Mix, mix, mix. And then I wanted it a little less red. Put some blue in it. And I'm pulling the tip down to a fine point again. There you see. And I'm dotting purple dots. Now, I go on and I make a yellow as well, but because I'm dotting this over the green grass, it's not showing up real well. So what I have to do the next time, before I begin anything, I've got to put down some liquid mask, little dots, and then go ahead and put my green over it. And then when I'm finished with the green, I can come back, take the mask off, and dot the colors into it. The purple, I tried to go along where the house meets the greenery in the background. I did the purple dots there. Again, you won't be able to see them. And then my desire was to put the yellow dots along the fence line. And as you see, I'm mixing up the yellow, trying to make it more yellow, but it didn't happen. So I put a little clump of the white in it, thinking maybe that would brighten it enough for it to be seen. But again, because I didn't mask it out, it's overpowered by the green that's already there. So from now on, in fact, I'm going to go ahead. I've got two more that of the same stamp that I'm going to practice on. I'm going to go ahead with the two that I've got left to make, and I'm going to put the mask on it already. And hopefully that will save me from this again. But I'll be finished in just a minute, and I will completely dry it, and then I'm going to show you real quickly the two cards that I made. If you've hung in there this long, I want to say thank you for watching the video. I am having a blast learning how to watercolor, and I want to encourage you to branch out and do something. I do not consider myself an artist. I don't even consider myself artistically inclined, but I've always wanted to do this. So that's what I'm doing. and the good Lord is blessing me. He's helping me. I'm putting a little bit more green in there and some blank spots. And looks like I mopped up a little mistake somewhere. And I'm finished now. I'm going to stop it and let you look a little bit. You can barely see the little purple dots, just barely see them. But all in all, I'm pleased with it. Is it perfect? By no means. But every time I do something, I'm learning. You don't wake up tomorrow, unless you're like Beethoven or Bach or one of those. You don't wake up tomorrow and write a symphony. And I don't think Leonardo da Vinci woke up at the age of 3 and did a masterpiece. And I'm not either. I'm 60, so I'm not going to ever achieve that, but I can still have some fun. I'm using a white gel pen to put some white caps, not big ones, just little calm water white caps in. And I even thought to myself I didn't like as many as I did. I used the pad of my finger and went in and just kind of rubbed them, and they disappeared. So that was pretty cool. And because the stamp didn't properly, I double imaged on the stamp, and I'm taking the writing off, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. I've already done one stamp with a window. You'll see that in a little bit. So I'm going to do a tiny little border of this orangey red around it, and I'm using a piece of paper that was a Halloween paper, and it's got skulls on it, but I'm using such a tiny little border you're not going to be able to see it. So I cut out the stamp itself was 2 by 2. I cut out the orange 2 1/8 by 2 1/8, and then I flip over a piece of that orange, and I use the white side of it, and I do a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 and make a little white border, and I put it on a blue card, and it looks pretty nautical, pretty cool. Probably would be a good card to send to a guy, a masculine card. And I make up my cards initially with very often I do not put sentiments on them from the beginning. So here are my 2 cards. That one I made a couple of days ago. Took me 1 day on each card. I'm on a roll, ain't I? So thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. God bless you. Bye-bye.